Every morning, life gives you a lemon, fresh and inviting. It's plump, delicious, and juicy, just waiting to be squeezed. Our dopamine reserves resemble this lemon, and each night we sleep, the sleep replenishes the lemon. And every time we engage in activities that release dopamine, we extract some of that lemon juice. But when we engage in activities that release a lot of dopamine, like video games, going on naughty websites, or doom scrolling TikTok, we grip the lemon very firmly and release a lot of juice. The issue becomes really apparent when we reflect on it. When the lemon is full of delicious juice, it is very easy to squeeze the lemon. Only a little bit of pressure is enough and juice will flow. However, if you wake up, jack off, play League of Legends, and all of that before even having breakfast, your lemon is already squeezed. When the lemon is already squeezed, it becomes really hard to get juice out of it. To get even more juice out, you have to press the lemon even harder. That's a big problem. Suddenly, activities like studying, socializing, or working on your passions don't excite you anymore. And the simple reason being is that you ran out of juice. Back in the days before technology became so prevalent, it was very normal to do the boring stuff in the mornings, during the days, and the more exciting stuff was reserved for the evenings. For example, our ancestors would spend the day hunting for food and gathering foods, materials, taking care of the children. And in the evening, everybody would come together, share the foods with each other, socialize and relax. But it's important that during the days, they've done the low dopamine activities, the boring activities. All the thrilling activities like socializing and partying were all reserved for the evenings. However, in our modern lives, this balance is not there anymore. So, how do we fix this? First, analyze how you use your dopamine reserves every day. Identify when you engage in the light squeezes, which is the boring stuff. Identify when you engage in the hard squeezes, the exciting stuff. Identify when you engage in one of those types of activities and note down how you feel. Shifting your focus early in the day to those light squeeze activities can really make a big impact, especially if you feel very unmotivated to do other things. Try rearranging your low dopamine activities and your high dopamine activities. Try taking the low dopamine activities and putting them early in the day and saving the very high dopamine activities for later in the day. This way you can create a natural build-up of excitement throughout the day, and you look forward to the evenings where you can relax and enjoy. Here's something that I did not mention. Dopamine is actually nothing like squeezing a lemon. It is not a finite resource like the juice of a lemon, because your dopamine response actually adapts depending on how hard or light you squeeze your dopamine out every single day. So your dopamine system can get very adapted to different amount of stimulus. If you're only used to high dopamine activities, your dopamine system is used to only getting pleasure from those high dopamine activities. But if you're used to low dopamine activities, you can get more pleasure out of those low activities than somebody who's used to only high dopamine activities. That's why balance matters. Too many high intensity activities and the low intensity activities will not be as exciting anymore. And that's not because you don't have enough juice to squeeze out of your lemon. You ramped up the amount of juice that you need for a squeeze to even feel a little bit of anything. You basically have to press out the whole lemon to feel any excitement. So it's much more than just preserving your dopamine levels throughout the day. It's more about training yourself, your mind, your palate for dopamine to respond to low dopamine activities. And here's where it gets really interesting. Not all activities that give you a dopamine boost are made equal. Not all high dopamine activities hit us the same way. Take exercise, for example. Weightlifting, running, cycling. In particular, cardio exercises like running and cycling are very interesting. There's a lot of research that shows that these type of activities actually increase the amount of dopamine receptors inside of your brain. This does not only mean that those activities will in fact release dopamine, but it also means that you are going to be more sensitive to dopamine, meaning that doing these activities actually prime you into enjoying less exciting activities more. And if you circle back to the lemon analogy, exercise is a slow drip instead of a hard squeeze. Focus on balance and activities that can stabilize your dopamine. This way you can keep things exciting without maxing out early in the day. But there is a even bigger piece of the puzzle, because you don't necessarily need dopamine to be excited and motivated for life. And here is where the next point steps in. Yes, purpose. Everyone and their grandma is talking about purpose nowadays. And while I'm sure you are already sick of hearing people talk about finding your purpose, it might just be the key that you need to unlock your dopamine system. Because our motivation is not just about dopamine. Purpose and meaning can be just as powerful to keep us going. Because meaningful activities, they don't rely on dopamine themselves. They have a why behind them that bring a way deeper level of satisfaction. This why serves as a long-term fuel, whereas dopamine is more like a short-term driver. Dopamine is good to get you started to do something, and your drive, your hunger, your ambition is what keeps you on the path. People who love their work or study a subject that they really enjoy, they are not dependent on dopamine spikes. Instead, they're all tapping into something more fulfilling. When I'm making a YouTube video like this one, I wouldn't say that I'm really excited and driven by a random spike in dopamine that makes me do it. I try to upload a video every week, and often I don't even feel like necessarily doing it. But I have a deeper reason to actually create these videos. And that is why even when I don't feel like doing it, I can still do them. This is definitely not the most dopamine-ridden activity. I'm literally standing here in my room by myself with a whiteboard. I have a microphone in my hand and I'm talking to a phone. But I still find it rewarding because I can share my experiences and I find a purpose within that. And of course, talking about purpose is all fun and philosophical, but how the hell do you find your purpose? Most advice that you find on YouTube is very vague, and within reason. Finding a purpose is a vague thing. And while finding it is vague, there's actually a few steps that you can take to go and find it. It is still an active process, not something that just happens. And be warned, it's not easy. Nobody can do it for you, and you will not know how long it takes. There are 3 steps that I found that work for me. First, try everything. Experiment with different activities and experiences, because you can't know what resonates until you have tried it. Take a dance class, pick up a Warhammer 40k addiction, or volunteer at a local charity project. The goal here is to try a lot of different things, because variety is the spice of life. Notice what sticks. Pay good attention to the experiences that you tried. See what experiences really draw you in naturally. You will feel a gravitational pull towards them. Don't try to force this. Just let it happen. You don't have to think about if it's a right thing for you or not. You will feel it deep in your heart. For example, maybe you will lose complete track of time when you're doing it. And if you have moments like these where you are completely inside of the activity, take good note of those. And finally, lean in. Actively pursue what gives you fulfillment in your life. Note, I'm not talking about easy pleasure that spikes your dopamine. I'm talking about something deeper than that. Fill up your life with activities that soothe your soul. Because those kind of activities are what really create intrinsic motivation. Because purpose is not just given to you. You have to pursue the things that naturally interest you. And the more you invest in something, the more purpose you can feel in that activity. And finally, also keep repeating these steps, because life is not static. Life is a constant flow of energy. Life is about change and adaptation. What will get you fired up today may not be the same thing in 10 years. Your purpose will change, but it evolves and adapts over time. So keep evolving. And remember, in the end, life is not just about rationing dopamine. It's about understanding how to keep our mental engines running smoothly. So instead of just squeezing your lemon dry, try to fill it with fulfilling experiences instead. And speaking of making the most of your time, I created a 1-page flipping cheat sheet. It's a free download in the description. Also check out my last video, 9 tricks to get you flooded with Facebook Marketplace messages for a few clever strategies to boost your flipping game. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any tips to level up. Thank you, and I will see you next time.